coming up on today's show.
And if you can delegate that into your children or onto your children and let them have the responsibility, it is very freeing for the parent.
Where do you keep the basket? Is it kind of in a central location?
I'm not going to lecture you. I'm not going to yell at you. Just go check Lost and Found.
Organizing Families Part 2 today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Last time, if you were with us, and I highly recommend going back and looking at that episode if you haven't, or listening to it, depending on how you consume this podcast. But we started talking about organizing families, and we talked about the concept of the weekly meeting and kind of getting our schedules and our menus synced up. And we are bringing back Amy Tokus from FreshlyOrganized.com. Amy, welcome back to Keeping You Organized.
Well, thank you for having me, John.
Well, now we all know that a 1 hour a week, getting our menus and our schedules synced up, that's cool. We can. That's going to take us really probably to a next level if we're not doing that already. But I know there's a lot of challenges with organizing families, and a lot of it gets like dumped on the mom who ends up having to, cover for this kid or cover for that kid because they forgot to do something. And so let's talk a little bit in this episode about how we get kind of kids to own it, to own the family organization and to work together as a family. So do you have some tips on that?
Oh, do I have tips on that? So one of the things that I notice in families is there's usually a parent that really takes on a lot of the organization and keeping everything straight and in line. And if you can delegate that into your children or onto your children and let them have the responsibility, it is very freeing for the parent, because then there's just more joy in parenting if the kids are doing their part too.
Right.
So, one of the things that parents do is they will pick up when the kids are gone to school for the day and their kids' stuff laying around. A lot of parents I know will pick things up and then they'll return them to the bedrooms and put them away for them. But there's a little bit of anger when they're doing it. There's a little bit of frustration because they may not know who it belongs to. And then there's the feedback from the kids of, where's my so-and-so? And then they're like, well, I put it away up and, well, that's not where it goes or whatever. So there's always this tension that's going on with the stuff laying around and parents returning it possibly to the wrong location. And there's just this lack of appreciation typically.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met a kid that said, oh, thanks, Mom, for picking up my stuff and putting it in my bedroom.
Never.
So anyway, one of the things that I love to do with that, because it's an issue in almost every family that I've worked with, is create a lost and found basket. And what this does is it just gives the parent an opportunity to pick stuff up, which is what they want. They just don't want stuff everywhere. Toss it in a lost and found basket. And then it's the kid's responsibility to get it from there.
Right.
The parent doesn't have to figure out who it belongs to. I have 3 older girls. I have no idea what belongs to who. I stick it in lost and found and they figure it out.
Yeah. So that's really systematizing and coming up with a tool to kind of take care of a very common thing. Because I bet invariably people lay something on the counter and they don't deal with it. Or
Right.
So where do you keep the basket? Is it kind of in a central location?
For me, so I have a confession to make. My lost and found basket has dwindled down to a very small basket on a shelf.
Okay.
But when we started this, it was a huge blanket basket in the family room on the floor. Because my kids had bigger toys or things, not necessarily toys, but just things that were laying around. So I could just toss things in there and I didn't worry about it. Right. But it needs to be in a central location. That's what's key, because it needs to be easy to put things in and it needs to be easy for the kids to pull stuff out.
Right. Well, let's talk about training them on how to deal with it. So you've created this system. How do you get them to embrace it and use it?
So that's actually the easiest part,
Oh,
but it can also be the hardest depending on what type of person you are. So
especially if it's their
um,
electronic device, they learn really quickly where to find it, right?
they do. So when the kid asks you where something is, they'll say, I left my headphones over here on the island. Do you know where they are? And you just say, just check lost and found. So it's just a quick, easy, not my responsibility, check lost and found. Somebody might have picked it up, check lost and found. So it's just a quick, easy, just like they do at school. I'm not going to lecture you. I'm not going to yell at you. Just go check lost and found. So the kids learn if they're looking for something to first go to lost and found eventually. Okay. One of the things that happens though is lost and found gets full, if you can imagine. And then this is kind of gets into the difficult part for some people is at that point we have to give the kids a notice and say, okay, lost and found is full. And, in a couple of days, usually I tell my children on a Friday, and I'll say on Monday, I'm going to donate anything in lost and found. So if you have anything you need to get out, now's the time to grab it.
Wow.
So that gives them an opportunity to clean it out. This is just like they do at school. So they know this routine, they understand it, and then on Monday everything goes away.
Nice. Yeah, and maybe give them that last minute reminder at that Sunday meeting. By the way, remember, and you
Right.
have you had to follow through on that before?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because you got to have
So,
you got to be true to your
right.
penalty, I guess, right?
Right. But I will tell you, only once did I really do it 100% of this is all going away. And then the second time when I went and I told them that I was going to do this, the time after that, it was a quick, easy, oh, this is all trash and this is all donate. This is stuff they don't want.
Right.
So the first time is definitely the hardest time.
Yep.
And as a parent, you're going to see things that they love in there and that they want. Um, but we really have to hold true to getting it out of there and we need to make them miss it.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, I've had situations where there were some really nice headphones in there or those little DS games when my kids were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And those are expensive. And I'm like, I am not donating all these games when I'm going to have to rebuy them later.
Right.
But I would pull them out and I'd hide them and put them away for, 3 to 6 months and then pull them out for a special occasion, like a birthday or
Yeah.
something like that and say, oh, look what I bought at the Goodwill the other day. I know yours got donated a few months ago. So it's just the point was they missed it and they realized it went away and then they think I brought it back.
Wow. That's great. Well, listen, we're going to
Yeah.
take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk more about this independence and how to get kids on board for
Yes.
organizing families. That's what we're talking about here with Amy Tokus from Freshly Organized. And we'll be right back.
It's the summer sale at myorganized.life. 25% off office products like file folders, hanging files, accordion files, and presentation products. Click now for the coupon code. It's 25% off during our summer sale at myorganized.life. That's myorganized.life. 25% off. It's the summer sale at myorganized.life.
We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about organizing families. We have Amy Tokus from FreshlyOrganized.com, Omaha, Nebraska area. And Amy, so we've kind of talked a little bit about this independence and getting people to embrace the systems, right? And we talked about the lost and found basket. That's a great tip. What are some other ideas to help, get your family all on the same page when it comes to getting organized?
The lost and found is huge because that's the stuff floating around. But then the grocery list is the second thing of having the kids put things on the list that they need. I say the minute they can learn to write, they can start putting things on the list because most families not only have snack cupboards or a snack shelf or whatever, and if the parent's maintaining it, then, there's always going to be the feedback of you forgot to get something. But
Mm-hmm.
if the kids are getting it on the list, then they know it'll get purchased if it's on the list. If you choose to purchase it. My son used to put, when he was first able to write, he put fruit chews on it every week.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
finally he's like, I keep putting it on
Cookies.
there, Mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry, it's not happening. And then, but the other part of that is you think about the toiletries that they need, shampoo and things like that, and soap in their showers. And if you're not in their spaces all the time, you don't know what's low and what they're needing, and they can maintain that in the grocery list.
Right. Oh, that's a great point. Well, how about
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about this with the lost and found basket, but about consequences of not following the systems that you work so hard to set up. How do you deal with that?
Okay, so I am a huge fan of Love and Logic, and I don't know if you've ever experienced or know Love and Logic,
No.
but one of my favorite parenting methodologies. So if the kids don't follow through, if they don't put something on the grocery list, if they don't um, clean out the lost and found basket, the response is, and they come to you and complain. It's like, oh, that's a bummer. So what are you going to do? Like, how do you handle this? Or,
Mm-hmm.
what's your next step? And it's not on the parent to figure this out. And, what I would do is start cleaning out the lost and found before it gets donated. And then you don't have to worry about it. Or I would start putting things on the grocery list so it's ready. And I'll warn you when I'm going to go shopping so you have an opportunity to do it, but you got to put it on there. I'm not going to do it for you. So it's just a little bit of oh, that's a bummer. So how are you going to handle this? What are you going to do? So it gets their brain thinking, oh, Mom's not going to take care of this for me,
Yeah.
which is huge. And it creates independence in them. And that's what you want. And it also says to them, I think you're capable of taking care of this and figuring this out yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fix it for you.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about an area that kids do not like to talk about, and that is chores. And we have 4 kids. In order to keep a
Yeah.
house working, everyone's got to pitch in. So, how do you get your kids engaged in helping carry some of that load so you're not doing all the work?
Right. I think this is huge. A family has to be a team. It can't be one person taking care of everybody else. It can't be two people taking care of everybody else. It has to be this team effort. And I think kids have to grow up knowing that it's a team effort.
Hmm.
Um, as my kids have grown, all my systems have changed. And I know when I work with families, their systems change depending on what stage of life they're in. One system that works really well for smaller children, they really want to be together and working together with the family and doing chores. It's very hard to send a 5-year old and say, go clean your room.
Mm.
That they just have a really hard time with that. So one of the methods is to work as a group. So you start in the playroom as a group. You go to maybe the kitchen or the living room, and you just work through the house as a group, and you assign different tasks, and you're supervising and helping the whole time. So it's a family event. And in this way, you could get through the house in about an hour of just light cleaning, picking up, and get in a really good place for the week.
Mm.
The kids aren't going to be able to do heavy lifting in the very beginning and when they're little, but as they get older, then it's a choice of, yeah, I would love for you to help with some um, with chores,
Hmm.
but you got to get it done before you can go with friends to do whatever. So as my kids age, my kids like to have friends over, and I'm like, I love for you to have friends over, but here's what needs to be done before they come. Here's the things that need to happen. So it's a little bit more tied to um, if they want to have stuff happen, then they need to help do things. And so that works better for me with my older kids.
I know that in our place, negotiating with the kids, they say, "Can I have friends over?" Well, in order to have friends over, you're going to need to do this, this, and this. And it's amazing how quickly, they'll vacuum and dust and do all the things that they don't want to do normally. So
I know. We just moved last week into a new
boy.
house, and my son had a few boxes to unpack, and he wanted to have friends over. And this was the day after we moved. And I said, listen, as soon as you get these boxes unpacked, you can have some friends over. And it was like, bam, done. Yep. His room was all set up. I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, is there anything else regarding, independence or consequences that we want to touch before we wrap up?
The only thing I say is do whatever you can to let your kids be independent. Putting dishes in safe spaces for them to help themselves to make a glass of water, putting snacks that are healthy in a reachable place so they don't have to say, Mom, can I have a snack? It's kind of like those are the safe go-to snacks. If you're hungry, help yourself. And just creating that sense of independence and capability in your kids, it'll take them a long way in their self-esteem and their adult life.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Amy, before we go, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, what kinds of services you offer, and how people can get a hold of you?
We are freshly organized in Omaha, Nebraska, and you can get a hold of us through our website, freshlyorganized.com. And we help families, we help businesses with productivity and families with organization. We do a lot of time management and all sorts of things to just help everybody be more organized.
That's great. All right. Well, folks, there you have it. I think now you've gotten enough tips to get your family organized, at least get a good start on it, and put these things into effect. And I think you're going to have a much more calm and I don't know about that because the way families are these days, everything is a little hectic. But at least this is going to help you get through some of those tough times, and it'll give you time to come back next time for Keeping You Organized.